according to the latest research, the average person has about 6,000 thoughts per day. And of those thousands of thoughts, 80% are said to be negative, and 95% are exactly the same repetitive thoughts as the day before. That's pretty crazy, right? Well, it makes sense in terms of evolution. We need a negativity bias to survive. And in general, looking at our brains, I think they're pretty amazing thinking machines. But they can get faulty. They can get a little virus in there and cause a lot of frustration and suffering. Especially for those of us who tend to overthink, 6,000 thoughts can quickly turn into 12,000 or 20,000 or more. So, I used to be a massive overthinker, especially when dating or in relationships, but also in social situations and in my business. And let's just say I was obsessive thinking central station. I did all the meditation, I did all the mindset stuff, I did all the journaling. Trust me, I did all the journaling. All the things they say you should do that would help you, make your mind stop thinking. Because that's really what I wanted for a very long time. I just wanted to stop thinking. But a lot of these strategies, they didn't really help very much. Often, it was actually the not so healthy strategies, the coping strategies that helped me the most, like drinking, smoking weed, Netflix binges, and scrolling on social media. But of course, these come with certain side effects. And they didn't actually take care of my overthinking problem. They were just band-aids, highly temporary band-aids. And so in this video, I'm gonna share with you what obsessive thinking and rumination really is and where it comes from. We will look at common strategies to calm the mind and why they often don't work. And then you will also learn the most effective ways to find more inner peace and cultivate calm in your mind and body. How does that sound? Cool. So part 1, what is obsessive thinking? We're stuck looping in our minds. We're overanalyzing. We're thinking the same or similar thoughts over and over and over again, especially focus on things that we can't control in a pretty compulsive way, right? We just can't stop it. And we might be ruminating about the past. We might be worrying about the future. We might be overanalyzing decisions or social interactions. Yeah, you know that one. Like I would overanalyze conversations or interactions that I'd had. I would worry about how I was perceived by others. A lot of times I would be like, I shouldn't have said this one thing, or I should have said it this way. I would shame myself. I would criticize myself for making little tiny minor mistakes. Right? I would replay scenarios in my mind over and over and over again. I would imagine worst case scenarios, catastrophize situations. I'd be thinking, especially when I was dating, like, why are they not texting back? Being someone with an anxious attachment style, yeah, it's tough. I'd also have decision paralysis. I just couldn't make up my mind. Do I want to do this? Do I want to do that? A or B? Loop around what if scenarios a lot. So if that sounds familiar to you, then welcome to the club. Now, the problem with overthinking is it's basically like an addiction. In the short term, it might help you and it might feel good, right? We get this, it's weird, but we get this dopamine hit by thinking and looping around these thoughts over and over again. But in the long term, it's actually making things worse. Because essentially, as we're looping around these pretty stressful thoughts most of the time, it's essentially an ongoing stress response in the body. Worries and obsessive thoughts really can be addictive. And just like any addiction, you just can't get enough of what you don't want. Yeah, let me say that again. Just like any other addiction, you cannot get enough of what you don't want. Now, one of the definitions of addiction is providing short-term relief that creates a long-term pain. And this necessitates the need for more of this addictive substance, more thoughts. So really, it's like self-torture, and it can cause chronic anxiety and just a lot of internal suffering. Now, in the end, though, what I've come to realize and what really helped me heal my overthinking mode is that overthinking really is under feeling. Thinking is the mind's attempt to solve itself. And overthinking and worry keep us from going into our bodies and feeling what's there, right? We're thinking our feelings rather than feeling our feelings. It really is a way to not feel the underlying emotion. It's easier to think than feel. That's 100% sure. It's way easier to think a lot of thoughts than to actually feel what's underneath those thoughts. And the problem is that cognition doesn't process difficult emotions. It's the underlying guilt and fear and anger and sadness that is fueling all that worrying, all that rumination, all that overthinking. And if the mind cannot make space for the underlying emotion to be witnessed and felt and processed, the mind will go into overdrive trying to fix the destabilizing thoughts. Now, I don't think I have to tell you about the benefits of a calm mind, but I will anyway because I made it to the other side. And I can tell you that life is pretty wonderful without constantly being stuck up here, overanalyzing, ruminating, and just not being able to get out of here, right? And so I think it's really worth looking at the root cause, like where's all this overthinking and rumination coming from really? Obsessive thinking really is just a symptom. These thoughts are just another symptom of the underlying activation and dysregulation in the nervous system. It's really the threat response and these suppressed, unfelt emotions living in the body and presenting themselves as ruminating and worrying and fixation and looking for threat and all of that stuff. That is really causing the issue here. Your nervous system is not feeling safe, and so it is looking for certainty by thinking and thinking and thinking. Thinking helps you feel more in control, and it provides the illusion of certainty, right? The worrying, the overthinking, it kind of makes the uncertain more certain. Now, the true root cause is suppressed emotions and most often than not, stored trauma and attachment wounding from childhood. We might have learned that it's not safe to feel fear or sadness or anger or shame, and we might not have had anyone to soothe us or co-regulate us. There came a point in our lives when we were really young where we started to disconnect from our bodies, from our emotions, and escape into our minds, a seemingly safer place. And overthinking is really just a symptom of avoiding to feel something. Usually there's fear and anxiety underneath, and it's a strategy by our scared little egos to distract us from feeling by thinking and thinking and thinking. We rationalize and intellectualize so we don't actually have to feel the uncomfortable sensations and emotions in our bodies. When feeling hurts, we go into thinking to protect ourselves. And often most of us don't even notice there are emotions beneath all the thinking. So how can we stop all of this? How can we make our minds stop thinking? Well, here's the bad news. We're not gonna be able to completely make our minds stop thinking because our brains are made to think. They're thinking machines, right? However, we can clean the virus and we can make them work again in a way that is helpful for us. Now, the problem with common ways to stop overthinking is that they focus on the mind, which, kind of makes sense. And I tried all of them, as I said, and we call them top-down strategies, right? Meditation, affirmations, and visualizations. The power of now, just focus on the now, just focus on the present, changing your mindset, and let's not forget all the journaling. Now with this, right, with all of these strategies, we try to use the mind to change the mind. However, you can't fix a mind problem with the mind. It just doesn't work. Influencing the mind with the mind is a really tough one, and it's basically impossible and often just very temporary. to tell yourself to stop thinking, it simply doesn't work. Has it ever worked for you? Because it never worked for me. Conni, stop thinking. It just made me think more. It's like telling you to not think of the pink elephant. What are you going to do? Yeah. So our mind's job is to think. And we can't heal overthinking with more thinking. But that is what our mind will try to tell us in a lot of self-help books and social media posts out there. But really, it's a trap. Now, here's what has helped me and so many of my clients. And I believe it's really the only alternative. And that is to use our bodies to influence the mind. Something that is so often neglected or ignored. It's what we call a bottom-up approach. The only real way to get out of the mind is to get into the body, using somatic practices to come back home into the body and create a safe space. And if we then allow ourselves to feel the deeper layers of emotions beneath the thoughts, we can actually close the loop and our nervous system can find back to a sense of balance. For me, it's a 3-step process. Step 1, and that's the foundation, it's to notice, right? It's really about creating awareness around your rumination, noticing when you're stuck in looping thoughts and naming it for what it is, right? You can consciously say to yourself, I have the thought that X, Y, and Z. I have the thought that the social situation that I just had, I might have said something that I shouldn't have said. This is the thought I'm having. Step number 2 is to use your breath to regulate your nervous system and calm your mind. Because in breathwork, we like to say a chaotic mind equals a chaotic breath. And so a calm breath equals a calm mind. Now, one of the best breathing techniques that you can use to calm the mind is by slightly extending your exhale. Now, you can try out something like a 4-second inhale and a 6-second exhale. And do that even just for a few minutes, right? 5 rounds, 10 rounds, and then do another 5 rounds or so of humming, just humming. So you do 4 in, 6 out, few rounds of humming. That in itself, and you will notice that, is going to calm your mind. And then do whatever else that helps you feel grounded. It could be going out into nature. It could be using essential oils. It could be cooking a nourishing meal. It could be, making yourself a nice herbal tea. Anything that helps you feel a bit more grounded. And then step 3 is to redirect your attention to the body. Now, here's the big question that I invite you to reflect on. What are you trying to avoid feeling by being stuck in your mind? And whatever it is that comes up, feel it. Go into your body, feel your body, and just notice any sensations that are present. What are the sensations? What are the emotions that are happening in the body while all of these thoughts are happening in your mind? Focus on those and work at that felt sense level in your body. Stay in your body. In order to actually feel your thoughts, you're gonna have to get onto the level of your body. So whenever you catch yourself getting stuck in your mind, looping and looping and looping, get onto the level of your body and just see what you can notice in your body. What emotions are present, what sensations are present. And you might have to cry, you might get angry. The invitation here is really to feel it through. It might only be 30 seconds, 60 seconds, 90 seconds. They say that one emotion and a cycle of an emotion really only lasts about 90 to 120 seconds. Can you give yourself that minute or two to feel it all the way through, to get out of your mind and focus on your body? Now, if you find that it gets too activating, find a sense of calm and safety in your body. Maybe it's your feet, maybe it's your legs, maybe it's your earlobes, or come back to the breath, 4 seconds in, 6 seconds out. Maybe do some humming. The more safety that you create in your body, the safer your mind will feel. Now, in the long term, to really heal your overthinking and your obsessive thinking tendencies, it's really important to dig deeper into possibly your childhood, possibly any sort of trauma that might have happened that caused your nervous system to be in the state of alarm way more than it needs to, right? It's that stress response in your body, as I mentioned earlier in this video, that's really causing a lot of these looping thoughts, a lot of that activation in your brain. And I highly, highly recommend that you dig deeper, possibly with a therapist or maybe a somatic experiencing practitioner, a NARM practitioner, anyone that can guide you more consciously into your body and possibly help you to process some of the wounding that might have happened earlier in your life. Now, the goal is to build new neural pathways, essentially new highways in your brain and nervous system that will shift your attention and energies from your mind into your body in the long term. Meaning you want to live a more embodied life in your body rather than a disembodied life in your mind. Right? And dropping into the body, it takes a lot of repetition and practice. And those mental experiences, right, all this overthinking, they're often very well-worn grooves in your brain and your nervous system, and it might really take a lot of repetition to drag your energy out of those tracks. But as we get more and more regulated, these mental manifestations become less of a problem. So next time you're overthinking and stuck in your mind, turn to your body. Now, if you enjoyed this video and you want to learn more about the breath and about your nervous system, then check out my course. It's called Breathwork and Nervous System Foundations. You will find the link below the video in the description. And otherwise, you can also reach out for coaching. I have a few spots available now and again, and just send me a DM on Instagram. That is probably the best way to inquire about my coaching program. And otherwise, peruse around the archive here on YouTube and see if you can find more videos that might help you on your journey. Because remember, I've been where you are and I've made it to the other side. And yeah, I can't wait to share more of a lot of the things that have helped me on my path. Until next time, bye.